President Biden threatened North Korea that any nuclear attack on the US or its allies would spell the end of the aggressor regime. President Zelensky has hailed his first phone call with China's Xi Jinping as meaningful and a powerful impetus to bilateral relations.
If North Korea attacks Washington, it will result in Pyongyang's downfall. A stark warning from the US President Joe Biden amid a joint press conference with South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol at the White House on Wednesday.
Nuclear attack by North Korea against the United States or its allies or partisans or partners is unacceptable and will result in the end of whatever regime were to take such an action.
Suk-yeol echoed Biden's words, saying their response to a North Korean attack will be swift, overwhelming, and they would use all means, including US nuclear weapons. This after North Korea said earlier this month that it had tested its most powerful ballistic missiles to date. Biden and his South Korean counterpart have insisted there is a, quote, unbreakable alliance between the two countries and have agreed to strengthen ties in the face of a hypothetical attack.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said he had a meaningful phone call with his Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping in their first phone call since Russia's invasion of Ukraine. In a tweet, Zelensky wrote that he believed the call and the appointment of a Ukrainian ambassador to China would give a powerful impetus to the development of bilateral relations. China and Russia have been strengthening their bilateral ties since before Russia's invasion of Ukraine last year. An invasion that China has declined to condemn. The diplomatic drive culminated with Xi's visit to Moscow in March, during which he and Vladimir Putin signed a cooperation agreement. President Zelensky called for talks with Xi in March. Although China's relations with Moscow have remained cordial, it hasn't recognized Russia's annexation of Ukrainian territory.
Russian embassies in Nordic countries are apparently nests of spies. That's according to an international investigation conducted by several public television stations. They say they have discovered as many as 38 Russian intelligence agents working at various diplomatic missions in Nordic nations. One alleged spy is Andrei Chimilera, a consul general in Barentsburg in the Norwegian archipelago of Svalbard, who has been linked to the GRU, the Russian military intelligence service.
Jeg hadde første møte med russisk generalkonsul og ny leder for Trøstarter Kugol her I dette rommet I august I fjor. De gjorde rede for mine forventninger til dem, og de gjorde rede for sine planer. Det var første møte jeg hadde med de, og etter det så har vi møttes på det her kontaktmøtenivået etterpå da.
1 week before the investigation was published, Norway expelled 15 officials from its Russian embassies suspected of espionage. Moscow responded on Wednesday and let go 10 employees from the Norwegian embassy in the Russian capital.
At a bilateral conference in Rome, Italy's Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni welcomed her Ukrainian counterpart, Denis Shmyhal, and said the future of Ukraine must always include integration with European dynamics and institutions. While he asked Italy to support Ukraine's application for NATO membership.
Sono centinaia tra aziende, organizzazioni e istituzioni, sia italiani che ucraini, gli enti che hanno partecipato all'evento di oggi. Lo scopo della conferenza è quello di intercettare le necessità del Paese e della sua ricostruzione, dunque offrire anche il know-how italiano in settori specifici. Questo rientra nel piano di aiuti che l'Italia sta offrendo all'Ucraina, come ricordato anche dalla stessa Presidente del Consiglio Giorgia Meloni, che in conferenza stampa ha detto come aderire a questo piano di ricostruzione significa anche credere che l'Ucraina vincerà il conflitto, ma significa anche partecipare al processo di adesione dell'Ucraina all'Unione Europea. Il Presidente del Consiglio ha poi menzionato il primo ministro ucraino, anche lui presente in conferenza stampa, e ha detto che lui stesso ha ringraziato l'Italia per aver provveduto a fornire elettricità nel Paese, uno degli degli esempi di come il contributo italiano si sia fatto sentire, un contributo che appunto verrà esteso proprio alla ricostruzione del paese. Secondo la Banca Mondiale il costo totale per la ricostruzione del paese ammonta a circa 400 miliardi di euro. Non si tratta della prima conferenza in cui si è parlato di ricostruzione dell'Ucraina, almeno in Europa, ma certamente l'evento è servito per rafforzare la posizione e il ruolo dell'Italia non soltanto a livello internazionale ma soprattutto a livello europeo. Giorgia Orlandi, Euronews, Roma.
More accessible and affordable drugs. This is the main goal of the reform of the EU's pharmaceutical legislation presented by the European Commission this Wednesday. This is the biggest reform in 20 years. The aim is to create a single drug market to reduce disparities between member states.
Whilst patients in the Western and bigger member states today have access to 90% of newly approved medicines, in the eastern part of the EU and smaller member states, this number is as low as 10%. And there are EU citizens who have to wait anywhere from 4 months to more than 2 to 3 years for these medicines.
These are some of the proposed measures. Reduce the drug evaluation period from the current average of 400 days to 180 days, help generics to enter the market more easily, and to incentivize the sector, innovative products could benefit from a longer exclusivity up to 12 years under certain conditions. But the standard regulatory protection will be reduced to 8 years. The most controversial proposal concerns the search for new antibiotics and the creation of a transferable exclusivity voucher. In return for a development effort, a company would obtain a 1-year extension for a patent it has on another drug, or could even resell this title to another company. The Commission also wants to guarantee security of supply. For European consumers, tackling shortages must be the priority.
Dans 9 cas sur 10 des médicaments en pénurie, il s'agit de médicaments prescrits. Donc ce n'est pas des médicaments confort que le consommateur achète en pharmacie, c'est des médicaments prescrits par un médecin parce qu'il avait un besoin thérapeutique. Et dans ces cas-là, presque la moitié des consommateurs, parce que nous avons fait des études et des sondages, a rencontré une difficulté en cas de pénurie.
The Commission also proposes the establishment of early warnings from companies in the event of a shortage. Brussels also wants to establish a list of critical drugs and thus identify weaknesses in the supply chains.
The European Commission has presented its long-awaited reform of the fiscal rules. It includes sticks and carrots in order to please both North and South. The main idea is to negotiate a tailored debt reduction with each government, and they will have 4 years to reach the target. If they don't manage to do it, then financial sanctions will come in.
The challenges we face today are a world away of the 60s. Public debt has surged, and so have our investment needs. So today's proposals address both of those aspects. By the way, we call it Stability and Growth Pact. They aim to bring about a more gradual but steadier reduction in debt levels and to contribute to boost sustainable and inclusive growth through investments and reforms.
No numerical target has been set on how much the debt should fall each year, and this is something that Germany does not like, as Berlin was calling for an annual reduction of 1% of GDP. Would this ownership and flexibility save countries from a new round of austerity? Analysts really doubt it.
I'm sorry to say, but some austerity will be required practically almost everywhere in Europe. There are just a few countries like Denmark, Sweden, and Luxembourg, which don't have to do that. And the reason is that countries embarked on very excessive spending during the COVID-19 pandemic. Then, in 2022 came the large energy shock. Again, governments provided massive fiscal support for households and companies in helping them lower energy prices. And unfortunately, this will have to come to an end.
The Commission proposal will now have to be discussed by EU governments and negotiated with the European Parliament with a view to a difficult agreement still in 2023. Efi Koutsakosta, Euronews, Brussels.
Dry and parched land. The rice fields of Isla Mayor near Seville should be a lush green were it not for a historic drought that has hit the Spanish countryside after 3 years of low rainfall and high temperatures. The lack of rain has caused irreversible losses for more than 3.5 million hectares of crops and wiped out some regions' cereal harvests.
Estamos viviendo una situación alarmante, porque ya no es solamente esta campaña, que lo tenemos muy complicado, o sea, no vamos a sembrar arroz, sino que ya son 5 campañas y esta sería la sexta de muchas dificultades.
The Spanish government has launched an SOS to Brussels to unblock aid from the EU's crisis fund to help farmers. And this is what the Po River, Italy's largest river, looks like. Its water levels is at a 30-year low for the month of April, similar to what it was last summer. This ship's captain says that in a few days he will have to cancel all of his trips along the river.
Io la prima traversata l'ho fatta 13 anni, ho imparato a nuotare sul Po a 5 anni e vedevo un fiume allora pieno, un fiume anche di vita, di turismo, di diporto, di pesca. Oggi non passa niente, non c'è più niente.
The drought of the Po River is due to the lack of snow in the Alps. The entire region along the river is suffering the consequences, as fishermen, boats, farmland and tourism depend on its waters.